Welcome to the Situation Room, everyone. I'm Diane Albright, and let's just say the suburban mothers of America have officially reached their limit with this crazy world. And I'm Ashley Thorne. If you're looking for a safe space, you've wandered into the wrong studio. We deal in reality here, and reality doesn't care about your feelings.
Ray the Hammer Miller speaking. I am locked, loaded, and ready to rip the mask off the globalist architects before they finish their controlled demolition of the West.
And you're listening to Will Sterling. Honestly, I'm just looking at the news cycle this morning and asking, literally, what is even going on here?
What a show we have today. We're still processing yesterday's insanity. $9 billion in Medicaid fraud in Minnesota. And that Supreme Court ruling on the Louisiana voting maps.
It's all a distraction, Diane. We told you yesterday, those billions aren't lost. They're reallocated to the same people trying to gerrymander our energy.
Yesterday was heavy on the corruption, but today is a packed episode because the reality check is hitting every single sector, from the Strait of Hormuz to your local grocery store shelf.
It's true. We're going to dive into the collapse of Spirit Airlines, the bizarre state of Hollywood's war on AI, and why the government wants to charge you more for a steak than a Ferrari driver pays for a steak?
Listen to me. We have to start with the Islamabad Accord, or as I call it, the Great Pakistani Shakedown. Iran has submitted a 14-point peace proposal via Pakistan. They want a 45-day ceasefire. They want a framework to reopen the Strait of Hormuz.
Reopen it? They're the ones who closed it.
Exactly! They're the ones who turned a global shipping lane into a private toll road. Since March, they've been charging shipping companies up to $2 million per vessel for safe passage.
$2 million?
It's literal piracy with a diplomatic blazer on. And Donald Trump, thank God he's actually looking at this. He posted on Truth Social that he can't imagine this plan being acceptable. He said they have not yet paid a big enough price for what they have done to humanity and the world over the last 47 years.
I mean, really? Trump's envoy, Steve Witkoff, he's demanding the total decommissioning of the Natanz, Isfahan, and Fordo nuclear facilities as a prerequisite for even talking? Is that right?
It's the only language they understand. While the Islamabad Accord tries to normalize piracy, Secretary of Treasury Scott Bessent just launched Operation Economic Fury. He's warning any company that pays those tolls, any company that hands cash to the Iranian regime, you're going to face sanctions that make the 1970s look like a vacation.
Let's be real, though. The shipping firms are in a fuel trap. Diesel prices are nearly doubled in a month because of this conflict. So the companies are caught between paying a $2 million bribe or watching their insurance premiums explode.
And that cost doesn't just stay in the ocean. It lands right on your kitchen table. Oh, please. It lands on the kitchen table and eats the whole budget. I saw the research report this morning. Retail ground chuck is hovering at $6.68 a pound. That's a 20% increase in a year. And coffee? $9.61 a pound for ground roast.
$9 for coffee? Why are they doing this?
Because they can, Will. It's the fuel trap ripple effect. Transport costs soar, so even the on-sale items are more expensive than regular price was 2 years ago. And the government tells us inflation is cooling at 2.6%, because they exclude food and energy. Honey, no! Core inflation is a myth designed by people who get their groceries delivered by a personal chef.
It's literally a Hunger Games simulation. You've got people struggling to buy beef, and then you see the report from the Dallas Express. SNAP abuse claims are sparking outrage because people are seeing EBT cards being used by people stepping out of Ferraris.
I have the white papers on this. It's the victimhood industrial complex in action. They've created a system where the middle class is squeezed to death while the elites and the professionally aggrieved loot the pantry.
Oh?
They want you dependent on the state. They want you drinking their negotiated poison. That's why I tell people, get the bone broth. Get the real nutrients. Don't let the globalists starve your brain while they burn billions on high-speed trains to nowhere.
We're going to get to that $231 billion train wreck in a minute, Ray. But first, let's talk about the people who actually stood up to the state this week. Oh, I love this one. First Choice Women's Resource Centers versus Davenport. A unanimous 9-0 win for religious liberty at the Supreme Court. New Jersey's Reproductive Rights Strike Force? Honestly, what a cringeworthy name. They tried to subpoena donor names, addresses, and phone numbers from a faith-based pregnancy center. No complaints, no evidence of wrongdoing. Just a give us your list demand to intimidate donors. And the court said over and over again, we have held those demands burden the exercise of First Amendment rights. Even Sotomayor and Jackson had to agree. You know the overreach is egregious when the ingrates on the far left can't even find a way to justify it.
But why was the state doing it in the first place? Think about it. They wanted to deplatform a charity because it didn't fit the narrative. It's the same thing we're seeing in New York with these May Day actions. Literally 3,000 May Day strong actions. 100,000 students walking out of class. They marched to Jeff Bezos' penthouse to demand property seizure. They're not even hiding it anymore. They don't want reforms. They want to take what you have because they think they're entitled to it.
It's a spirit of envy, Will. It's biblical. And while they're marching for Bezos' penthouse, they're letting serial killers out in New York under elder parole laws. They would rather seize a billionaire's property than keep a monster behind bars. I've got the documents on the legislative push. They're framing choosing death over treatment as some kind of noble sacrifice. It's the same disposability culture we're seeing with the euthanasia numbers in Canada.
Life is hard. Get a helmet. That's what I tell these people. But in Canada, the government is handing out the helmet of a lethal injection because it's cheaper than palliative care. There's a new bill trying to target maid coercion, but the reality is, once you let the state decide whose life is economically viable, you've already lost the war for humanity.
It's the ruling class. They hate the listener. They view you as a carbon footprint that needs to be reduced. That's why the Supreme Court's unanimous win for that pregnancy center is so crucial. It's a line in the sand.
Well, speaking of lines in the sand and building something that actually matters, Ray, you wanted to mention the man who makes all of this truth possible.
Before we get back to the analysis, let's deal with a hard reality. Real independence isn't free. This entire network, from this show to our flagship, The Neural Daily, exists because one man, Eric Christensen, decided to build it himself. He didn't ask for a government grant. He invested his own capital and technical expertise to architect a media platform that respects your intelligence. If you value that kind of meritocratic building, back it up. And don't limit yourself to just the politics. Get the full strategic picture by subscribing to the Neural Daily and the rest of the network. Support the builder and you support the mission.
Speaking of missions, the 5th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals just completed a search and destroy mission on the FDA's lawlessness regarding mifepristone. On Friday night, they issued a unanimous ruling. No more mail-order abortion pills, no more telehealth prescriptions with zero medical supervision. The court basically said the FDA has been progressively relaxing guardrails without any legal basis for years.
Oh, please. The guardrails were thrown out the window because the administration wanted to treat serious medication like it was a DoorDash order. Manufacturers like Danco and GenBioPro are in unprecedented regulatory chaos now. They're begging the Supreme Court for an emergency stay. But the reality is, the law finally caught up with the activism. You have to see a doctor in person. Imagine that! Medical common sense!
But the timing is everything, right? 6 months to the midterms. The Veterans Access Act is hitting the floor. Republicans want to codify full choice for veterans. Let them go to private doctors instead of waiting years for a VA appointment. And the Democrats are calling it a $1 trillion privatization scheme. Why are they doing this? They'd rather a veteran die on a wait list than admit the government-run system is a failure?
Because they want the dependency. Listen to me. They need the VA to be a captured market for the globalist pharmaceutical complex. Just like they need the airlines to be captured. Look at Spirit Airlines. They grounded every plane yesterday. 17,000 people gone. And why? Because the DOJ and Buttigieg blocked the JetBlue merger in 2024 to protect competition. How's that competition looking from the terminal floor in Fort Lauderdale, Pete? The company is dead.
Here's the reality. Spirit was the pioneer of the ultra-low-cost model. But between $4.51 a gallon fuel and a government that wouldn't let them consolidate, they were sacrificed on the altar of antitrust ideology. Now, American and Delta are rescuing passengers with caps that expire in 3 days. It's a mirage of stability, just like the GDP numbers.
It's embarrassing. But you know what isn't a mirage? Meryl Streep. The Devil Wears Prada 2 had a $32 million opening day. People want stories. They want glamour. They want tradition. And look at Hollywood drawing the line on AI. The Oscars just banned AI performances and screenplays. Even the ingrates in Tinseltown realize that if you let the machines take over, there's no human soul left to sell. They're drawing a human-only red line because China's DeepSeek V4 model is closing the performance gap to 2.7%.
It's an arms race, Diane. China is scraping data from GPT-5 to build their own digital army. And our House Appropriations Committee is finally looking at Beijing's ethical safeguards, which we all know don't exist.
What is going on with the FCC, though? Jimmy Kimmel makes a comment about the First Lady being an expectant widow, and now the FCC is using licensing to investigate Disney's DEI policies? Ted Cruz is even warning that this crosses a line. Are we looking at the government jawboning media?
Let's be real. Kimmel is a victimhood mascot. But Ted Cruz is right. You don't use the FCC as a weapon for speech you don't like. Because if we do it today, the left will use it to shut down this show tomorrow. We argue the culture. We don't argue for the muzzle.
We'll argue for the muzzle for some of these globalists. But look, let's talk about the main event. The historical reflection that hit the headlines this weekend. 15 years since the Bin Laden raid.
I remember exactly where I was. That feeling of national purpose.
Where is that purpose now? Retired Admiral William McRaven is out there talking about honor being in our DNA. But look at the California high-speed rail report. $231 billion.
For a train that doesn't go anywhere. They've been building it for 15 years, since the raid in Abbottabad, and they haven't laid the main track.
It is the worst public infrastructure failure in U.S. history.
I mean, think about it. $231 billion. Literally. You could have given every person in California a free Tesla and had money left over to build a moon base. Why are they doing this? Is that right? $231 billion?
The cost has soared because of environmental reviews, labor mandates, and the fact that the ruling class views taxpayer money as an infinite resource. They call it a project of the future, but it's really just a retirement fund for consultants and bureaucrats. While the average person can't buy beef, the train to nowhere keeps chugging along on your dime.
It's a simulation of progress. They don't want you to move. They want you in 15-minute cities where you're easy to monitor. They build the $231 billion train so they can say they're saving the planet while they ground Spirit Airlines and tax the diesel.
Oh, please. It is just common sense to say stop building. Stop the madness. Look at the Lakers. 41-year-old LeBron James is leading the charge to advance to round 2. Merit, longevity, hard work. That's the American DNA, not a $200 billion hole in the ground in the Central Valley. And the Rams selecting a quarterback in the first round to plan for the future? That's what leadership looks like. Taking the red pill and realizing you have to build for tomorrow, not just manage the decline of today.
It's the youth movement versus the institutional decay. You see it in the prom shootings, too. These celebratory gatherings being targeted. 16-year-olds in Texas being arrested for manslaughter. 1 dead in Indianapolis at a post-prom party. Why are the children so violent? Because we've stripped the ethics out of the schools and replaced them with May Day protests.
They've replaced God with the state. And the state is a cruel God that demands $231 billion and gives you a Hunger Games economy in return.
The victimhood industrial complex has won the narrative for too long. But look at the Lakers. Look at the Supreme Court. Look at the Fifth Circuit. The tide is turning. People are getting tired of being told that the $9 coffee is cooling inflation. They're getting tired of the train to nowhere.
It's literally a world of contradictions. We have the most advanced AI in the world, and we can't keep a budget airline in business? What is going on here?
It's the globalist plan, Will. But they're failing. Operation Economic Fury is squeezing Iran. The Supreme Court is squeezing the strike forces, and the people are waking up.
And they're waking up with a cup of very expensive coffee, Ray. But we're going to be here to make sure they're awake to the truth. From the Strait of Hormuz to the Devil Wears Prada, we see the patterns, and we're not going to let them gaslight you anymore.
Literally. Let's wrap this up with the reality recap. The government thinks they can block airline mergers to save you while they watch the company die. They think they can spend $231 billion on a train while you can't buy ground chuck. And they think they can subpoena your church donors while they let serial killers out on parole. It's not incompetence. It's a choice. They hate you.
But we love the truth. Keep your faith, keep your flags flying, and keep those kids away from the May Day mobs. I'm Diane Albright, and that was your daily reality check.
Life is hard. Get a helmet. And if you're flying Spirit, well, I hope you like walking. Ashley Thorne, out.
The documents are clear. Protect your vitality. The hammer has spoken.
And I'm still just trying to figure out why the strike force isn't striking the $231 billion train. I'm Will Sterling.